You probably didn't even know that there was beef between the two games. Well, there isn't. I don't think, but that's not what this video is about. Today we're going to be settling the age-old question.
Should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Should I get Mon Garage or my Bazoo?
Hi, should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Yo, should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Should I get my Bazoo or Mon Garage?
Should I get my garage or Mon Bazou? Hi, by the way, smile.
Yo, shall I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
I've been wanting to ask you for a long time, should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Should I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
Shall I get my garage or Mon Bazou?
This reminds me of in 1998 during Hell in a Cell when Mankind and The Undertaker were comparing and contrasting Mon Bazou versus My Garage. Classic. Never did figure out which one to get.
We've been playing both of these games on the channel for a while now, and that is easily the most frequently asked question. Also, if you're new here, you can check out the links to the series playlists down in the description. We're going to be breaking down the pros and cons of both games, and at the end of things, we will determine once and for all which of the two you should get. Disclaimer, this is in no way sponsored by either developer. I love both of these games equally, and there will be no bias here. Let's start with Mon Bazou, otherwise known as the less painful My Summer Car, a game that takes place somewhere in French Canada. I knew I was going to screw that up. French Canada. You start on a large plot of land in a small trailer home with only a pickup truck and a very beat up Koenig. That is definitely not loosely based off of a BMW E36. Definitely not one of those. In order to fix it up, you'll need some money, and there are several ways to make some. You can start a maple syrup factory near your home and sell your product in town not too far from where you live. After you get a bit more established, there are even more shenanigans to be had, like late night street races, a demolition derby, and even a championship race series, where you'll compete in a rally stage, drag race, and then finally a circuit race. But it doesn't end there. If you're not satisfied with your maple syrup production, you can even start up an oregano farm inside of an underground bunker. For legal reasons, I have to refer to it as oregano. That should hopefully give you a good taste of what Mon Bazou has to offer, but let's talk about its pros and cons. The big drawback for me, at least, is the lack of car mechanic simulation. That's not to say that you can't customize your vehicles, but when it comes to the engines, there's really not that much that you can do to them. You basically buy an already assembled long block and just chuck it into the car. Other than that, I would say that in order to progress in the game, it's going to take you a considerable amount of time. Ask me how I know. It can be pretty grindy, and not everyone, myself included, is really into that. But let's talk a little more about the cars. The vehicles do sound pretty good by comparison, and the handling isn't too bad either. I found drifting to be a bit challenging though, even with the use of a controller and the new adjustable steering rack. I have to admit, there are more pros than cons for Mon Bazou. While you might not be able to work on an engine, you can change out suspension components, exhausts, wheels, body parts, interior pieces, etc. And there's a lot of adjustability with certain parts. You can even get a programmable ECU and tune your car however you'd like. The biggest thing is that there's always something else to do. Until you complete all the objectives, i.e. beat the game, you're not locked into just working on cars in order to make money. There's so many different activities that you can take part in. Something that I forgot to mention earlier is selling stolen radios to the sketchy guy on the corner at night. Mon Bazou definitely has more variety in terms of activities, where My Garage is quite the opposite. There, you own a small garage with room to expand, and if that's not your flavor, you can demolish the whole thing and build whatever you want in its place. You start out with a decent amount of money where your only objective is to make more money so that you can buy more vehicles. And I think that that really stunts players' motivation at first until you start working on vehicles. There's a few different ways to acquire cars. They can be purchased from the used car dealership, the new car dealership, the junkyard, or from a random barn in the middle of nowhere. Once you take on your first project, you'll start to realize that you're not in French Canada anymore. Nearly every nut and bolt on the vehicle can be tightened or loosened. Most importantly, the engines can be torn down to nothing more than an empty block. You can also dismantle your car's body to next to nothing by cutting it up with an angle grinder. Then, once you're ready to put it all back together, there's a welder that you'll have to buy some electrodes for if you want to stack some dimes. The sheer amount of parts available in my garage might scare you at first, but the amount of customization that it gives you is incredible. Moving on to the vehicle's sounds, by comparison, they're not as good as Mon Bazou, but the handling is far superior. Both games have controller support, and I've recently had some successful skids in the new Rat. Now that both games have similar cars that definitely aren't BMW E36s, I feel like that makes them easier to compare. The major drawback with my garage is that's kind of all that it is, a garage. There's no oregano farm that can be purchased if you want an alternative way to make money. You buy cheap cars, fix them, and then sell them so that you can buy another cheap car and the cycle just keeps repeating. I guess you could do customer jobs. You could take on customer work if you really wanted to, or even deliver pizzas in town for a few extra bucks. All of the car mechanic simulator aspects of this game is what makes it stand out to me. You're able to really get your hands dirty with nearly every system of a vehicle. I'm talking fluids too. It's pretty sick. So this is the part where we have to determine which of these two games you should get. And I think what it all comes down to is this. This is what happens when you crash into a wall in Mon Bazou. And this is what happens when you do the same thing in my garage. Now that's not all that important to most people, but I think we can all agree that just having the possibility of your car being totaled kind of makes you care a little bit more about it. I think what it all truly comes down to is what kind of experience it is that you're looking for. If you want more of a car mechanic simulation, then my garage is probably more your speed. But if you get bored easily and you want to be able to do things other than work on cars, then Mon Bazou is probably the better option for you. Now, are we really about to close out this video without definitively naming one of the two games as better than the other? Yes. Yes, we are. They're both incredibly fun games, but they're made for two different types of people. Those that want to work on cars and those that also want to, just not all of the time. The bottom line is simple. You should get both. If you've enjoyed, please leave a like, leave a comment, help support the dream by smashing that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Peace.